Hello, my name is Ashley Blake, and myself and my partner, Stephanie Popa, whose video will come on a little bit later, will be presenting on mental health issues and social psychology. One typical day, a 14-year-old girl was raped. On another seemingly normal day, a father of 9 children lost his construction job, immediately launching the family into poverty and forcing them to rely on a soup kitchen for their food. After the rape of the 14-year-old girl, she felt numb. She felt like her body was just a shell of her past self. She started cutting because at least the feeling of pain allowed her to feel like she had some control over her life. One of the daughters of the man who lost his construction job, Louisa, passed by one of her friends while getting food at the soup kitchen. She said that this encounter forever changed how her friend viewed her and interacted with her. She was no longer just a friend. She was someone who was in need. Louisa and her family were now living in poverty, and the stigma surrounding this, as well as the stigma surrounding the 14-year-old girl for cutting herself, even though she went through a traumatic experience, creates an unfriendly environment for the mentally ill. Mental illness is a serious social problem because it disproportionately affects women and people living in poverty, and those suffering from a mental illness have a social stigma attached to them that will exacerbate their difficulties and make recovery more difficult. There is a clear relationship between those living in poverty and those living with a mental disease. A major example of this can be seen in the refugee crisis. More than 61% of refugees will experience a mental health crisis or breakdown at some point in their lives. Another large issue we see is that women and minorities experience higher rates of poverty in the U.S. than Caucasian males do, meaning that women and minorities are disproportionately experiencing more of a mental health crisis. The World Health Organization has created a mental health action plan that calls for their member states to invest more money in their mental health information systems so that more research can be done about this problem. Now, the United Kingdom especially latched onto this plan, and they actually did a study to address the specific social determinants of mental health inequalities, and they actually created a mental health research agenda. We got a lot of our data for this specific project from this study that the UK did. One of the major things they found was that mental health can actually affect one's employment by increasing workplace discrimination and causing one to miss vital educational activities that will help them to find better jobs. So, could it be possible that the lack of social support given to women and people in poverty correlates with their mental health? Society has stereotyped views about mental illness and how it affects people. The stigma makes their mental health situation even worse. The prejudice against those with a mental illness generates fear among the mentally ill, and it creates this negative feedback loop where the problem continues to get worse and worse. This negative feedback loop causes those who are mentally ill to be even less likely to get professional help. Now, I would like to turn it over to my partner Stephanie to talk about potential solutions and specifically how we can even implement this at Southern Adventist University. It will require funding, but I suppose this project is a good start for that.
Based on what we have discussed so far, a potential solution to the societal issue which Southern Adventist University could prioritize is showing more compassion to those with mental health illness rather than continuing the cycle of shame. Giving back to the community in various ways would be a start. Some ways that Southern Adventist University could begin prioritizing mental health is by starting a funding program for the individuals experiencing poverty in the Collegedale area, implementing mental health days for students who need it, and bringing awareness to mental health, its importance, and emphasizing the importance of asking for help. A potential solution that could be funded would be to develop a small mental health app to be used on the campus of Southern Adventist University. This app could measure one's mental health and provide daily tips and suggestions about how to go throughout one's day in their current mental state. It would be an easy way to bring awareness to the teachers and administrators about how to alter their coursework for those who are being severely affected by the workload they are burdened with, or how to help the students that are just struggling with mental health issues in general. The measurement tool would be a survey-based app that would have students take a daily survey. The series of questions would be clinically approved by an expert and would serve to gauge one's mental state. Multiple surveys would be created, with some designed to be taken daily and others designed to be taken weekly, monthly, or semi-annually. The results of these surveys would only be accessed by administrators, who would be able to reach out and offer help to these students. The implications and consequences of mental health issues within communities in poverty, women, and minorities is the lack of access to help as a result of poverty or due to the stigma surrounding mental health issues. The fear of being shunned by society is exacerbated and therefore prevents these individuals from seeking professional help. The problem with our solution proposal is that it is a choice that needs to be made on an individual level. Compassion is an individual decision that must be made willingly. It is difficult to convince a population that they should be more generous or to open their heart to others, but unfortunately, it is the only way to help those in need. More of a safe space needs to be created for individuals suffering from mental health illness.